What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another very in-depth video breakdown going over tips for setting ranges, walking you through the entirety of the process outside of actually entering into the pool, just going through step by step some things to be paying attention to. Make sure that you all are paying attention, as we have a lot of valuable information within inside the CYPRX community that you all have direct access to as DeFi University members. So one of the main questions that we get asked is how to properly set ranges. And so today I'm just going to give you some tips and tricks that you all can utilize. Again, none of this is financial advice. This is what I personally do and what I personally look at. And so you can, kind of take some of these initiatives and possibly integrate them into your own trading and investing regime and move from there. So we're going to start. This is going to be a little bit of a longer video breakdown, so stick around. But again, lots of tips and tricks, giving you guys the full access and breakdown of everything that you have readily available at your fingertips within inside this community to your disposal to get the best ranges. Now, first off, right off the bat, we here in the CYPRX Wealth 28 Club have access and are the only community on the internet as of right now in the DeFi space that has access to institutionalized delta zones provided by our institutional scalper. So first off, we are going to be utilizing those for this example. Now, right off the top of the dome, keep in mind that this is a tool that you can utilize to set the best ranges. So again, not financial advice, but I highly recommend you take advantage of them and you join the Discord. Remember, keep in mind that the DeFi University and the Discord are two separate services due to all the education and the material that is provided in the Discord. So if you guys want access to the Delta Zones, which we're going to be utilizing for this example, you are going to need to go to the homepage at cyprxtrading.com, and you're going to need to join the Discord by clicking on join the CYPRX monthly subscription, which gives you access to all of this inside the CYPRX Discord. So once you join in the CYPRX Discord, you will then unlock all of these sections. You have the entire DeFi passive income section, and you have the monthly access section, where in this section, you have access to the delta zones. And for this example, we're going to be utilizing the Hbar delta zone. So you can see right here, clicking open the Hbar section, you have direct access to institutional delta zones via Hbar USDC. Now, for whatever trading pair, whatever currency, whatever asset class you want delta zones for, you can click around, you can message in the crypto delta section and you can ask for those deltas, or you can directly come down here to institutional scalpers private section and you can message him directly and ask for deltas. Okay. Lots of valuable information on technical analysis in these sections. But again, I just want to show you all what you have access to. And in order to access these delta zones, you will need access to the private Discord, which is a completely separate service because of all the valued information in the Discord itself. Okay, so keep that in mind. That's number one. So let's pretend that you got access to the delta zones. So for this example, again, you would come down here and we're going to be utilizing Hbar. We're going to be entering a pool on Saucerswap. So we're going to need to see the Hbar deltas. We're going to click open the Hbar deltas, scroll down and find the most recent deltas. Now, if you don't think that these deltas are accurate, maybe you've seen that some of them are violated or that price has respected some of the deltas, you can always go in and message in the chat and ask Usman if they need any updates. For this example, they do not. So we're going to click them open. And once they are open, you guys can see here are the deltas. All right. So now that we have them open, we're going to be utilizing them to set our price ranges. Okay. So just giving you guys some tips and tricks to set ranges before we get into the technical analysis. First, we need to understand that as liquidity providers in a concentrated liquidity range, tighter ranges allow for us as liquidity providers to earn higher APRs because our capital is used more frequently and concentrated activity within a narrow price range. Via the opposite side of the spectrum, conversely, a wider range dilutes the capital across a broader price span, which reduces the frequency of trades within that range, resulting in lower APRs. So just keep that in mind. The wider your range, the lower your APR, the tighter your range, the higher your APR, right? This is the more condensed and concentrated the liquidity that you're providing for said trading pair is. Okay. Ideally, keep in mind, we want to be earning fees for as long as possible. Our goal as liquidity providers is not to go out of range and not to have to adjust our positions. So you might have to sacrifice some percentages in the form of APRs to get the best range. So tip number one, stick to the higher time frame. We want to stay in range for as long as possible to earn fees. You should not be setting ranges on your trading pairs on the 1 minute time frame or even on the 15-minute time frame. For me personally, I like to look at the 4 hour and above, the 4 hour, 8 hour, 12 hour daily and weekly. That's just for me personally, because again, our goal as liquidity providers is to stay in range as long as possible. Okay. Second tip I wrote down for you guys is understand the current market sentiment. Why do we need to do this? Why do you need to understand fundamentals, which again is where the CYPRX community comes in clutch? Because what do we do? Every single evening during Asia session, I break down fundamentals for you all. You guys also have access directly to my daily fundamental reports so you can understand risk on, risk off market sentiment. Why is this important as a liquidity provider that's setting ranges? Because you need to be able to determine whether or not your position needs more breathing room to the up or downside. If there is a risk on market sentiment, meaning that investors are more inclined to take on risk, what does that most likely mean? That you need to give your range breathing room to the upside because the market trend is most likely going to be bullish. Inversely, if there's a risk off market sentiment, for example, we see upbeat US data, stronger dollar, right? Maybe some geopolitical escalations and tensions weighing on risk assets. Well, those factors can contribute to you giving your trading ranges, if you're setting them, more breathing room to the downside, as most likely the trend in risk assets will be bearish. All right. So just keep that in mind. Understand current market sentiment. For this example today, the current market sentiment is moderately risk on. This is due to, during the time of recording this video, last week we saw lower inflationary figures weighing on the strength of the dollar, boosting rate cut hopes, strengthening risk assets across the board, right? So for this example, we're going to give our trading range that we're hypothetically setting on Hbar today more breathing room to the upside, right? So that's another tip. Tip number 3, don't set your ranges too tight or you will have to adjust more frequently. Keep in mind that our DeFi business is meant to be as passive as possible. We don't want this to be trading. We don't want to come into the market every single day via our ranges and our positions and have to adjust, possibly taking on impermanent loss because we set our ranges too tight, so on and so forth. Okay. We want a nice healthy range on the higher time frame that's going to keep us in range to earn fees as long as possible. Okay. Tip number 4, check your ranges every Asia session after the new daily candlestick prints. Now, you can check it a lot less often. For me personally, I'm already at my computer during those times when I'm delivering you guys Zoom calls. And for me, that's when the market, stock market, and the FX markets roll over and reset for the day to print the new daily candlestick. You guys know crypto never closes, but it's just a good habit to check your ranges. Make sure that you're in range during the Asia session when the market rolls over for the new day. Okay. And then tip number 5, set your alerts on TradingView. If you want them to come directly to your phone, then you're going to need to connect the mobile app on TradingView for phone notifications. Okay, and I'm going to show you all that in today's video breakdown. All right, so keeping these tips in mind, let's go in and actually look at price action. And we're going to be setting up a Saucerswap V2 liquidity pool. All right, so let's say starting from scratch, you go in, this is just a test wallet. I have connected. You always want to make sure that you're going to connect your wallet. For this example, we've connected our Hashpack wallet to the Saucerswap DEX, and we've already pre-funded it with some Hbar. All right. Now, for this example, again, just kind of walking you through the steps. Step number 1, you're going to need to buy the native digital asset that is compatible with Saucerswap, which is Hbar. You can do that. For example, I did this just as an example on Uphold. I then sent my Hbar to my Hashpack wallet, so that way it was funded with some Hbar. I then connected my Hashpack wallet to the Saucerswap DEX, and I'm now ready to look and enter into possible liquidity pools. I want to make a decision on what liquidity pool that is going to be, so I'm going to click on liquidity, and I'm going to go shop around. Now, for this example, we are going to be entering into a concentrated liquidity range pool. So we're going to need to look at Saucerswap V2 pools. If you want a wide range and a more laid back option with less APRs, you're going to be looking at Saucerswap V1 pools, which are wide range liquidity pools that offer relatively, healthy APRs, but a lot lower than concentrated ranges. So for this example, we're going to be utilizing USDC Hbar Saucerswap V2 pool. Well, keep in mind that we have Hbar in our hashback wallet, but we are also going to need the other digital asset to provide liquidity for this USDC Hbar pool. So we're going to need to go up to the swap tab, and we're going to need to swap out some of our Hbar, half preferably, of our Hbar for USDC, right? So we're just going to go ahead, commence that swap, walk yourself through the prompts, okay? So let's pretend now that we've done that. We're going to go back to liquidity. We'll scroll right down here, and we will click open the USDC Hbar pool, all right? And we're going to click new position. And then you can see over here to the right-hand side, it gives you a couple of different options. Now here, if you don't want to set your personal ranges manually via the way that I'm about to, which again, I highly recommend you don't choose these options. However, if you do, and you're more of a novice beginner trader and you just want the ranges set for you, you have some different options. So you can see here, the focused range set gives you prioritizes high swap fees in a narrow range, monitor this position regularly for optimal results. So that's a more hands-on approach. The balanced range gives you a middle path strategy, earns well, but does require some oversight, monitor semi-regularly. And then a relaxed range gives you the optimizing for moderate fees with less active management. Check this position occasionally. So it's a lot wider, more likely a lower APR. And then you have the full range option, right? So for us, we're going to just do the manual, and we're going to plug in our ranges here, okay? So with that being said, now let me walk you through the process of actually, let's go back, refresh this. We're actually going to go through the process of setting up a range and what it is that I personally look for. All right, so heading over to the charts. Now, again, we're going to be doing this on the higher time frame, on the 4 hour and above. For this example, we're going to be utilizing the 8 hour. Now, this is obviously, of course, assuming that you already have access to TradingView. Keep in mind that if you want to set alerts and alarms on TradingView, you are going to need to pay for the Pro subscription, I believe. If you don't have the Pro subscription, you can still look at the charts on TradingView, but you don't have any of the extra added features like setting alerts, alarms, and actually customizing your charts. Okay. Another option for you to utilize is Dex Screener, but personally for me, I'm more familiar with TradingView, so that's what we're going to be utilizing in this example. So we are on the 8 hour time frame. You're going to need to go over here. You're going to need to add the Hbar USDC coin trading pair to your list of assets over here. Once you have that, and again, by doing that, you just click the drop down plus menu, go to crypto, type in the trading pair, and add it to your list, your watch list. Okay. Now, some things that I like to pay attention to on the higher time frame. We know what institutional patterns look like. What do I mean by that? We know that institutions usually like to trap liquidity in the market, liquidate positions before they shift order flow. So for me, I look for these two institutional patterns beneath lows and above highs when I'm setting my ranges on the higher time frame. So underneath of lows, looking for a healthy area where I like to set my range low, obviously, of course, outside of assessing the overall risk sentiment in the market, which I mentioned to you guys is more risk on right now. What I like to look for is I like to look for areas of interest on the higher time frame where market makers have created this pattern, right? Where we see a liquidity trap in the market underneath of lows, indicating early buyers' interest, market makers accumulating all those orders in the form of stop loss positions that existed underneath of these areas of interest, them shifting market order flow. We know that market makers are the only people with the amount of money to shift order flow like this and continue the trend. And then we see higher lows come in after, which potentially lead to higher highs and higher lows, a trend continuation. Okay. So what I look for when I'm setting the bottom of my range is I look for a liquidity trap, a sweep of that liquidity, and a higher low that leads to higher price action. This signals to me that in this area of interest on the charts, market makers were somewhat involved. So that's the first thing I look for. And we're going to layer on deltas after this, okay? So let's just go down and see if we can look at the charts and find this institutional pattern. And sure enough, on the higher time frame, give or take where we're currently at in price action right now, we can see that institutional pattern. We can see that right here, market makers set up a trap. They then liquidated that area of interest with this candlestick wick to the downside. And then a higher low came in after that shifted market structure. What do I mean by that? Previous to this bullish move, we see a bunch of lower lows and relatively ranging price action. This bullish move completely engulfed all of this bearish price action and is now the new A to B range that we are operating in. So where I would like to set the bottom of my range via the institutional pattern that we just identified is beneath this low, which is the liquidation event that takes place. So I always like to put my range low beneath the area of interest where the market makers liquidated the pre-engineered lows. So for this example, I would move my range low, give or take a couple of percentage points beneath, just to give it some breathing room, this low here. So for this example, my range low is going to be at the 0.98 key psychological level. We can even round that off and make it the 0.9 flat, right? Okay, so that's going to be my range low for this example. Now, going over to the delta zones to even further solidify my area of interest, looking at the psychological level, the 0.900, let's go see if there are any deltas that match up with that, right? So we can see coming down here, looking at the deltas, we do see a nice delta in between the 1016, the 1005, and the 0.98 and 0.97. So let's use this delta here, the 0.98 and the 0.97, and see how closely that matches up with my analysis. So we're going to use our box tool. If you want to get to the box tool on TradingView, just come over here and you find it in your drop-down menu, right? And if you want to add it, you can see right here, rectangle tool, you'll star it and it'll get added to your list of favorites. So we're clicking open the box tool, and remember, just to edit the box, you're going to go double click on it, or you can right click on it. And then this menu is going to pop up. You'll click coordinates, and we're going to type in the top of the delta was 0.98. And the bottom of the delta was 0.97. Let's just change this to area of interest. All right, boom. So that comes in pretty darn close to where I had originally set the bottom of my range. So now we can go and adjust that even further, and we can set our range low underneath the bottom of these deltas. Why? Because we know that these deltas usually like to get respected in the form of institutional order flow. So now looking out, what I could see happen, you can see here, we had a bullish expansion from this delta zone previous. I could see market makers possibly coming back into this delta zone to reaccumulate orders and reverse back higher, right? So we're always doing kind of like a forward-looking projection, right? So for this example, finding the market maker pattern, then layering the delta zones on, you could see that the original range low we had adjusted was roughly around the 0.900 flat. And we saw some nice delta zones in this area where we can readjust even further to deliver more accuracy, to stay in range longer, and put those range lows right underneath the deltas nice and snug. Okay. So that's going to be our range low. So we can go over, and that's going to put us at roughly around, let's round that off, roughly around the 0.96 key psychological level, right snug and tight beneath the range low via the deltas, right beneath the deltas. Okay. And so when we're on our Saucerswap liquidity range, setting that, you can see right here, the minimum price, we want to go in and we want to edit this number to the 0.96 psychological level flat. Boom. Right. So that is going to be our range low. Give or take a couple of percentage points, you can always shave that off by just using the minus or the plus button, but that's fine for me. All right, so that's going to be our range low. Now let's do the same process for our range high, except I'm going to teach you guys a little tiny trick. So remember how we were looking for this pattern underneath of lows. We want to look for the same exact pattern above highs. How do we do that? Again, utilizing the trickery of our brain, as above, so below. So I'm going to hit Command I, which inverts your charts right side up. And we're going to look for the same institutional pattern. Okay. And so here we can see, here is a liquidity trap. Here is a liquidation event that took place that grabbed all the liquidity out of this area. And here you can see structure holding in the form of a higher low after a liquidity grab. It's the same exact pattern as above, so below. Here you can see that pattern. Liquidity trap, liquidity grab, and higher low that comes in after. Right? And so for this example, the area of interest that we want to be setting our range high is above, again, because we're inverse, this high. So let's flip the charts back right side up, hitting Command I on your keyboard. And again, giving it some breathing room to the upside, give or take a couple of pips, we can see the key psychological level. Let's just round that off. We'll put that in as 0.12.6 flat. Okay. And so now that we have our area of interest above range highs on the higher time frame, we can go in to the deltas and see if this links up with any good areas of interest. So the 12.6 flat, let's go see if there are any deltas. All right, so you can see here, we have the 12.23 and the 11.84. That's not really close to the level that we just found on the charts. So we're going to go one delta higher, the 12.87 and the 12.49. So let's go and plug the 12.8 and the 12.4 on our deltas. So we're just going to use our box tool again. You can always go into style, extend right, and we're going to go into coordinates, and we're going to plug in 12.8 and 12.4, right? And boom, look at that. The range for our deltas at the high, the range that we had originally set falls in line with the delta zones almost smack dab in the middle, which just goes to show the strategy that I'm attempting to show you guys is extremely accurate. However, again, we want to stay in range as long as possible. And we know that these institutions, when they push price into a delta, they like to either respect the bottom of the delta or sometimes even manipulate the high of the delta and then move price again. So we are going to, again, even more accurately set our ranges by scooting it up to the top of the delta, nice and snug above the top of the delta. So the top of this range is going to be 12.8 flat. So we're going to go back into our Saucerswap. And here we're going to change this number to 12.800. All right. Boom. So now all that you would need to do left is go back, double check everything, make sure it looks healthy. And keep in mind, tip number 5, set yourself alerts and alarms on TradingView. So before you log off, before you get off the charts, make sure that your alarms are set. Don't set your alarms right at the top of the delta or the range. Give yourself some room so that way you're notified before price actually gets to those areas. So I would put it right at the bottom of the delta, give or take a couple of pips. So you can see here, I have an alarm set where Hbar USDC, if it crosses this alert, I'll get a notification sent straight to my phone. And again, just double clicking this alert, you can go in, you can click notifications, and you can, check all these to make sure that you get notified via an email, via your application on your phone, show pop-up on your charts. Make sure you have this stuff clicked. You can also choose the sound that you're going to get notified with. Okay. Make sure that you have all this stuff clicked. If you don't, you're going to be wondering why you never got an alert and alarm. So you just go into the alert right here, hover your cursor over, double click it, open up the settings and go into notifications tab and click all this information, right? Make sure that the mobile application TradingView is downloaded on your phone and that you're logged into your account. Okay. And then you're going to do the same thing for the bottom of the range. So you can see here how my notification is outside of the range low. We're just going to click that and we're going to drag that up. Again, we don't want it to notify us when price is actually at the range low. We want to be notified before it gets there. So we can determine, risk sentiment, we can determine market conditions, so on and so forth. So I'm going to put it snugly right at the bottom of this wick, drop it, boom, right? So if price comes down and hits this notification, I'll get an alert sent to my phone and I can go in and I can adjust market conditions if need be. Same thing inversely, if price comes to the top of the range here, I will get notified via the alert and alarm. All right. So step-by-step process. Again, this process from top down is the same across any trading pair that you're looking to get in or any concentrated range, whether it be on Orca, Trader Joe, Uniswap. Okay. You all have access to the delta zones via any of these trading pairs. You all have direct access in the CYPRX Discord to my fundamental analysis. You all can also ask questions if you want to screenshot your trading pairs and send them to Usman and ask, hey, Usman, where would you set the best ranges on this price action? And he'll give you an answer, right? So you have direct access to that straight from the CYPRX Discord. Remember, if you're just a Wealth 28 Club member, you're going to need to have access to the Discord to access all the information that is in the Discord. So make sure that you take advantage of that. I hope that this video breakdown helped you guys out. Again, just scratching the surface on how to set ranges and tips and tricks to possibly consider when doing so. And with that being said, I will see you guys in the next video breakdown.